I'm really excited about these. I just watched the Pooh documentary as well, and it was amazing.
The what?
The Pooh documentary. That's what Derrick Rose's nickname is when he grew up.
Oh, because he's the Pooh, take a big whiff?
No, I think it was his grandma. We'll call him Pooh, like Pooh Bear.
Oh, okay.
They called him Pooh Bear at first, but when he got a little older, they just started calling him Pooh. Hey, what's good, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look at these potential bad boys right here. This, my friends, is the Adidas D-Rose 11. So the Adidas D-Rose 11 models in. This guy right here, kind of like the 10. They kind of pay tribute or homage to previous D-Rose models, or at least previous models that he's worn. I can't remember exactly every model that was in here. I know that the D-Rose 1 is in here. I think it was the Crazy Light, and then there was something else. I can't remember what it was, but these guys right here, they've got a little bit of the D-Rose 4 right there on the toe. They also have the D-Rose 7 traction, which is awesome because that's some of the best traction ever. And then the other thing is it says Adi Zero, and I believe that that is also a tie to the Crazy Light that he wore, which is an awful shoe, but it's really interesting because the materials and stuff are very reminiscent of that, but they feel way better, way more safer, I should say.
Isn't that also the shoe that started his journey with them?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
No. So I'm glad that you brought this up because now we can talk a little bit about Adidas basketball history. I know a lot of about Nike basketball and Jordan brand. I do know a little bit about Adidas. I'm not like a major Adidas head or anything like that, but Derrick Rose is one of my favorite basketball players ever, and I think he's amazing. Young rookie D Rose was like a young MJ, man. The guy was just unstoppable, and he was like just a little freight train, man. They're so small, like, you know, compact type of players and stuff. Way different than somebody that is purely dominant, like a Yao Ming or a Shaquille O'Neal and stuff like that, where they're so big you can't do nothing about it. But these little dudes, man, they're just high flying, just get the out the way type players. And so Derrick Rose, when he was young, really reminded me of MJ. Coincidentally, he's in Chicago, plays for the Bulls, or at least he used to. I got to meet him one time. He's a super nice guy, man. That was actually for the D-Rose 7. And that was something that was in the documentary too, is that they were filming while he got the call that he was traded from Chicago to New York. And he was not happy about that. He was upset because that's his hometown. To be able to grow up in your hometown and play for the professional sport team of your hometown, it's got to be one of the most epic feelings ever. And it's got to be a complete 180 when they boot you. It was an awkward time for him, but even at that moment, he was the nicest fucking guy ever, man. Like, and I was at a media event for all of the Adidas stuff. It was like the Harden, the Dame, the D Rose, all that stuff, and the main focus was on James Harden, and you can tell like the activation was really about him, and even Dame was like a big time at that moment. I think it was the Dame 2s, which is a great shoe, but he was just kind of off on his own. I felt like, especially with the 9 and stuff like that, the 8 and the 9, I felt like, is Adidas like writing him off? Because they signed a lifetime contract with him, so they have to, as long as he's playing, put out product. But it felt like the product was really lacking compared to what they used to do when he was D-Rose, like youngest MVP of the league. So even though he was going through those rough times and he had that little tiny ass activation and stuff, and I was at a media event, you're not supposed to talk to the athletes unless it's your time to talk to the athletes. When everybody was like leaving, this was the only time I've ever done this. When I was in the same room with Kobe, I couldn't even talk to him. He has this weird aura of like godlike, but D-Rose has this weird approachable. It's very strange. I was in the room and I kind of like hung back and everything as everybody's getting ushered to the next activation, and I was like, hey, I'm a huge fan, man. Can I please get a picture? And I never do this. I don't like bothering anybody. And he was just like, hell yeah, you can. Like, it almost like I felt like it made his day. And I was just like, nah, man, you made my day. But like I was saying, the original Adidas stuff, when he was first signed on, him, Dwight Howard, there was other guys too. I think like Chauncey Billups was one of them. They had the TS series, the Creator and the Commander. So there was no signatures at the time. It was much different than what Nike was doing, where Nike had Kobe, LeBron, I believe KD. At that time, Nike was not signing anybody but like 3 people. So if you were on a Nike contract as a player, as an endorsee, you're just a team shoe guy. And that was where Adidas was doing things differently. Everybody was a team shoe guy. Everybody was treated equally. It was super strange, but there was a guard shoe and there was a big man shoe, and they all had their PEs, all that stuff. It was super cool. That was right around the time when Pure Motion was really popping. Pure Motion was like the new feet you wear. Eventually, like, Derrick Rose blossomed, if you will, into one hell of a player, man. And they were just like, we're gonna go do the signature route. So they gave him a signature, they gave Dwight a signature, signature. I've reviewed them all and it's really cool. So I'm glad that he's got the 11th model. It's something that as a player, especially one like him where you've gone up and down through injuries. Jeremy Lin's another one where the injury thing, he's not even in the league right now and he's celebrating his first ever signature. It's a big moment for a player. I think that this is dope. Now, as far as the shoe itself goes, the tech specs, like I was saying earlier, the traction, this is from the D-Rose 7. Now, this traction setup is fire. Literally, it's about the Chicago Fire. So it's flames and it's awesome. It works really well. I love this. I played in 2 different pairs of the D-Rose 7. One of them had a solid rubber. One of them had the translucent outsole. All of them worked really well. And then the midsole itself is light strike. So I like that. On last year's model, we had bounce, which I also really like. I love bounce, but this bounce didn't feel quite like the bounce that I love. It felt a little more lackluster. I'm really hoping that this is kind of like a blend where it's lightweight, because this is definitely heavier than this in hand, but I hope that it's lightweight, but still gives a little bit of feedback under your foot. I really like the little cage piece right here. It's pretty cool. It reminds me of like an updated sprint frame. And for those of you guys that don't know what a sprint frame is, it was basically this piece, and it used to, it doesn't anymore, but it used to be the chassis of what the shoe is built off of. The D-Rose 1 is one of those shoes, but it used to be the TPU piece as the heel counter, and then underneath it would ride all the way to the flex point, and then it would stop, and it would cradle your foot. And this little guy right there would go up, and a lot of people that have been playing in Adidas products for a long time know that that thing would pinch the out of your feet right here, and I hated it. It was a great thing, but I hated the way it felt. Like I remember the D-Rose 2 really had to break those in. Mad uncomfortable until you broke in that plastic piece. Then eventually they just shaved that thing off. And so they still had the frame, like the chassis, but they didn't have the little sidewall cups. So much better after that. Now the upper is something that I think is real interesting because again, they're bringing back Adi Zero thing. That was what the original D-Rose stuff was named. It was like the Adi Zero Rose 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, all that stuff. And then eventually just kind of like started just calling them the D-Rose, whatever. And again, like I was saying earlier, this stuff right here at the midfoot really reminds me of like a new generation style sprint web, I think it was what it was called, where it was just screen mesh and then a very thin layer of a structured layer. And in the original Crazy Light, it was honestly, it was dangerous because it was like a felt material. It was super cheap and flimsy. D-Rose rolled his ankle in those things in the playoffs. That was the beginning of the, you know what I mean? What, oh man. This guy though, this feels a lot more structured. It's just not as flimsy and stuff. So I think that this is going to be great. Plus it's got extra layers on top of that. So the toe area that reminds me of the D-Rose 4 and the heel, it's got this weird like woven material. This looks and feels very similar to the JJ watch shoe that we just did, the Reebok.
JJ4?
Yeah, the JJ4 is from Reebok. And yes, Adidas currently owns Reebok. I've heard the rumor that they're looking to sell Reebok because during the pandemic, Reebok has definitely taken a huge hit. But I think that that would have happened eventually anyways because it didn't feel like Adidas was putting the right people in place at Reebok to make Reebok as good as it could be, or as good as it should be. I really like the tongue area and the collar. It's heavily molded and sculpted. The thing is, me and you were talking about this, where this is, at least the outer edge feels very similar to the LeBron 18.
Not that it feels, it looks.
If you feel it though, like it's thin like that. So like she's saying, doesn't feel, because the material is way nicer. But when I say feel, it's like about the same thickness, I guess. The difference is though, is that it's a micro mesh. So it feels nice. It molds and moves with the foot. It even looks more structured. You cannot wear that tongue comfortably, casually loose. You have to tie the fucking shoe. Otherwise the tongue in the 18 ends up coming out like this. And you're like, what is this thing? It's awful. This guy right here, this is what they should have done on the LeBron 18. Some colorways feel kind of like this. They're like that synthetic suede or whatever, synthetic nubuck. It doesn't feel as nice as this, but it's close. So those are the colorways. If you're looking at the LeBron 18, that's what I would go with. But I think that this is a better setup if you're going to go with that thinner tongue. Now inside the shoe is a little weird. They have stitching points where there's heel notches, but there's no heel notches.
They're flat.
Yes, and that brings me into the fit. Go down half a size for sure. That's what, you know, a lot of people do with most Adidas. Not all Adidas, because sometimes I go to true size, but with these I would recommend going down half a size. The weird thing though is that if I don't use these little top eyelets right here, or these top lace loops, you can feel, because the material inside is pretty slick, you can just feel your heel like wanting to pop out of there. So I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity to have those notches notched, but not. It's kind of strange. But yeah, go down half a size, you should be good. There is a little bit of volume still, but they have that same exact thing in the Dame 7s. And I gotta say, that is one hell of a shoe, man. I was worried just because I don't like all that volume around my foot, but I had said in that video, like that first impression, like as long as you tie them up, you start playing and you don't even notice them, then it's all good. That's exactly what happened, man. I put those on and it was just, I was just hooping. It was fun, man. I love that. What you got?
This frame here that you like so much is very reminiscent of what they've been doing on the Ultra Boost, that they kept lightning and lightning
Yeah, the little clip.
on the Ultra Boost 19 and then the 20.
I really like these things because they add a lot of rigidity and structure to the rear of the shoe, which is what you need in any sport. That's what ankle support is. It's not this, it's this. It's keeping your foot on this object that is not natural. All you do when you raise a collar is you're just limiting mobility, you're restricting your body's natural support mechanism, which is the ankle joint and all the ligaments and tendons that are all in there. It's a fascinating piece of the body, and that one little thing, those two little ankles that you got, support everything above it in any direction that it moves with however much weight and torque you're putting on it. Speed shifts, think about that. It's not the shoes that are ankle supporting, it's the ankle supporting. So you have to just enhance that, make that feel as natural as possible. So that's why you have a heel counter like that, which is rigid. Make sure that you don't slide off of this raised footbed, and that's also why you have a wide base.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. What do you think about these though? Are these cute? I was gonna say cute. Let me redo that.
They are not cute.
Let me redo that. What do you think about these though? You think these are cool?
Sure.
That's a no.
I don't know. It's
That's
a
a
lot
no.
of red. It's a lot of
Now don't look at the color then, man. I like these more than the orange ones.
the orange one.
They were really fiery. It was the Phoenix colorway because he's rising from the ashes. You know, they thought that D-Rose was done.
I know. That was my big complaint for him with the 10s was they kind of just like threw them out there and didn't do any marketing for him.
Trust me.
Well, I know you went over that with
Yeah.
the 8 and the 9, but I was just like the 10.
No, this one felt like his retirement shoe.
Yeah.
It's the amalgam. It's got his career stats, the MVP thing, all that stuff. I was like, man, what the f? Like, is he retiring this year? No, he's not. It's just getting started, man. D-Rose is a beast. I love that guy, man. I really do. I love Steph Curry. I love Klay Thompson. I don't love Draymond, but you know, it's all good. No offense to Draymond or anything. I love Iguodala. I love him since he was a rookie playing with AI like that. He was a beast too. He's a totally different player now because of his back, but
I can see that though. We've gone over that with players and their, I guess, it factor is a way to think of it. Because like I have loved KD, I have hated KD, I've embraced KD, and then I've been like, oh, KD, you know?
No, I feel you. And I think that a lot of fans are on that roller coaster.
Yeah, and that's all just in his career as I've been watching him. Not always.
Just as a warrior.
No,
almost.
not even just
Oh,
as
really?
a warrior. Like I loved him when he was on OKC.
Really?
Until we went up against them. I forget which year it was in.
When we came back from 3-1?
I think so. And like I hated him. Like seeing his face on the TV, he would make me so mad in
Why?
the games. Just because he was like, I was like, where's the nice, fun-loving guy? Like
Oh.
this guy looks like
Good KD's gone, man.
didn't like him. Then he came on over to the Warriors, and I was like, oh, fun KD is back. And then he
Bounced.
kind of became like a little baby, and
Yeah. I mean,
But-
I understand where he's. I feel for KD. I understand KD. I would love to have a burner account and like stuff like that, but I don't got time for that. But that pretty much takes care of it for these guys. This is the D-Rose 11. Stay tuned for a performance review eventually, because you know we're still in the pandemic. Things are starting to open, so like we can play outside more. But I do want to play in these indoors before I ruin them outside. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. Let me know what you think about these down below in the comment section. They are available already in China. It's a bummer that we have to wait till November 1st, but I did grab these from overseas. For those of you guys that don't know, like when a shoe releases in China, there's an eBay seller who goes by the name of ID4 Shoes. We always have links in the description wherever I bought the shoes from, but we get these from ID4 Shoes. We don't get them from, I buy them from him. We don't, you know, get free shoes like that. Every once in a blue moon, which is cool, but for the most part, Thank you so much once again, and stay tuned for the performance review. So until then, have a good one.